Today we're going to talk about our last lesson in Unit 6, and it's on similar triangles. No Pythagorean theorem involved. We're just going to deal with triangles. So you don't necessarily have to write any of this down. You can if you want to remember it better and that stuff. But when we have two triangles that are similar, we have corresponding side lengths and corresponding angles, and it's the side lengths that we're going to worry about. But we're looking at, if you look at the colored sides here, side AB corresponds with side DE. Side BC corresponds with side EF, and side AC corresponds with DEF. They're the same line, just in two different triangles. That's the one that we're going to be worried about. And that the fact that they are proportional, that's the part we're going to be working with. So we have two triangles here, and we need to find the missing measures for each pair of similar triangles. So I'm not worried about the angles, so don't worry about those. I'm looking for letter B. That's the side that we're missing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at corresponding sides. So 3 corresponds with 12, 4 corresponds with 16, and 6 corresponds with B. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up a proportion. We did this last year. We're going to do the 3 from the top triangle, which corresponds to the 12 on the bottom triangle. And I'm just going to set this one up for right now. I'm going to set up the 4 of that triangle on top to the 16 on the bottom. And then I'm going to add one more. Usually we're only going to do 2, but I'm going to take a look at the 6 on the top and the B on the bottom. I should have done these in red since they were our red sides, but that's okay. So if you look at 3, I can take 3, multiply it by 4, that gives me 12. 4 times 4 gives me 16. So I'm going to do the same thing here. 6 times 4, B is going to equal 24. So that's how that works. It even goes this way. If I didn't use the 4 over 16, 3 times 2 gives me the 6. So if I wanted to do it this way, 12 times 2 gives me the same 24. So let's do it again. Again, you don't have to worry about the angles on the inside. I'm not worried about those. I need to find A. So I'm going to use, this is triangle number 1, this is triangle number 2. So 15 corresponds with A. Now, I can set up one more side, and it doesn't matter which one. I could do 7 and 21. I could do 9 and 27. It doesn't matter. So let's do 7 over 21. So, solving the proportion, 7 times 3 would give me 21. 15 times 3, A equals 45. Now, the other part of this is indirect measurement. This I do want in your notes. Indirect measurement uses similar figures to find a missing measure when it is difficult to find directly. So pause the video if you need to and get it into your notes. So we're going to be using similar figures to find measurements that are difficult to measure on its own. Janelle is standing near the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. So here's Janelle right here. The shadow of the Washington Monument is 151 5/10 feet. Janelle's shadow is 1 5/10 feet. If Janelle is 5.5 feet tall, how tall is the Washington Monument? So let's set up our proportion. We'll do Janelle. This first one will be to Janelle. This is her height compared to her shadow. So now we'll do the Washington Monument. We're going to do its height, which we don't know. That's X, to its shadow, which is 151 5/10. Now, here's where a little bit of math comes in. Ultimately, I would like to do that. I'd like to do something to the 151 and a half to get x. So what did I do to 1.5 to get 5.5? So let's figure it out. 5.5 divided by 1.5. So if I put that into my calculator, I get a really ugly decimal, 3 and 6 and 6.6 repeating, and it goes on and forever. I do not want to use that. I don't want to use that at all. So let's switch it around. Instead of 5.5 divided by 1.5, do 1.5 divided by, whoops, not 5, 3.5, by 5.5. So 1.5 divided by 5.5. Again, I get a repeating decimal, 0.27272727, and I don't want to use that either. Doesn't work. So I'm not going to be able to go up and down without some sort of icky decimal. So let's try it the other way. Let's go from 1.5 to 151.5. So 151.5 divided by 1.5. I just have a sneaking suspicion that that's going to work out a little bit better. So 151.5 divided by 1.5, I get exactly 101. That works out so much better. So 1.5 times 101, and again, I'm going to double check it. I'm going to put it into my calculator, 1.5 times 101, and I get 151 and 5/10. So that means I'm going to do the same thing on top. 5.5 times 101, I put that into the calculator. The Washington Monument, x equals 555.5 feet. So all of this just goes through that we can't go up and down, that we're going to have to go left to right. And I really don't care which way you do it. This was a little bit of a trickier one. Some of them are not going to be that hard. Like this one. So we have two triangles. We have this triangle here, and we have this triangle over, well, I'll use green so we can see it, over here in the water. So you plan to cross a river and want to know how far it is to the other side. You take measurements on your side of the river to make the drawing. I want to know how far it is to go across the river. So you have to look at the right angles. I've got 60 and 50 feet. So 60 over 50 feet. There's my first triangle. Now let's do the second triangle. I've got 40 over x. So 40 over x. So just looking at whether I can go up or down, I don't really like the 5 and the 6 together, so I'm not going to do that. I kind of think this might work. So let's do 60 and 40. Let's do 60 divided by 40. Put that into the calculator, and I come up with 1.5, which is really good. So divide by 1.5. Let's double check it. 60 divided by 1.5, that equals 40, so that works. So I'm going to do it this way. It's 50 divided by 1.5. So I put in 50 divided by 1.5. X equals 33 and 3/10 repeating. We can use a repeating decimal as an answer, and we label it feet. Okay, one more. This one is a really easy one. Pause the video and try it yourself. Set up our proportion. The tree is x feet over its shadow, 15 feet. A person, they're 6 feet tall. Their shadow is 3 feet tall. Look at this. 3 times 2 gives us 6. So what's 15 times 2? X equals 30 feet. We could even do it this way. 3 times 5 gives us 15. 6 times 5 also gives us 30 feet. Okay, here's a tricky one. I want to know B. This is what I want to know. I want to know this side right here. I want to know B is this point right here. Sorry, I want to know Y. And I also want to know X. Okay, now here's where we are going to use the Pythagorean theorem a little bit. We have two triangles. We have the big one and we have a smaller one. So we've got to figure out what it is, okay? I know this side, but I don't know this side and I don't know this side. So I've got to do some work. So let's first find out this side right here, A to B. We can figure that out using the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I've got 6 squared plus 10 squared equals C squared. So 36 plus 100 equals C squared is 136. Now I need to find the square root. My C, and I'm going to round it to the nearest hundredth, is 11 and 66 hundredths. So that's this part right here. That's part of our blue triangle. So now I'm going to set up a proportion because now I should be able to figure out something, I would hope. I've got the bottom of both triangles. So here I'm going to put the blue triangle on top and the big red triangle on the bottom. So the blue triangle, the bottom part here is 6. The side over here is 10. So on the red triangle, I know that this is 9, but I don't know what this is. That's X. So again, which way am I going to look at? Let's try that. Let's do 10 divided by 6. See what we get. That is an ugly decimal. Don't want to use it. Not going to go that way. How about going this way? We're not going to use that. 6 divided by 9. So try 6 divided by 9. That's an ugly decimal. Let's go the other way. 9 divided by 6. There we go. So we take 6 and we divide by 1, or multiply by 1.5. So 6 times 1.5, that gives me 9. So let's do this way. 10 times 1.5. Plug that into our calculator, and I get 15. So X is 15. But we are not done. We got X. X equals 15. Now we still need to get Y, but that's this big one. So we're going to do the Pythagorean theorem again. So I'm going to erase this Pythagorean theorem, and we're going to set it up again. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I have my A, which is 9. I have my B, which is 15. And I need to find Y, which is my hypotenuse, or my C. So 9 squared is 81. 15 squared is 225. We add those together, and I get 306. Find the square root of 306. Y, or C in this case, equals 17 and 49 hundredths. So we'll do this. I'll highlight it and see if we can get it. X equals 15. Y equals 17 and 49 hundredths. So your homework, which you need to complete on paper down here, is at the end of the lesson, numbers 1 through 9. This should not take you too terribly long at all. And if you have questions, by all means, come and ask.